I was standing in line at Target, holding a bag of dog food, when my phone buzzed. I checked it quickly, thinking it was just a friend, but it was a message from my mum. It said, "Lock's changed. You don't have a home anymore." I froze. My hands started shaking. I thought maybe it was a joke, a bad one. My mum had never sent anything like that before. I rushed to my car and drove straight home, hoping she was just angry and would calm down. But when I pulled into the driveway, my heart dropped. A car I had never seen before was parked in my spot. I walked to the door and tried my key. It didn't work. She really had changed the locks. I knocked, confused and scared. No one answered. Then I looked through the window. Inside, I saw someone else, some girl I didn't recognize, walking through the hallway like she lived there. I stepped back. My room's curtains were open, and the bed had new sheets. My favorite lamp was gone. The pictures I had put on the wall were missing. It was like I had never lived there. I sat on the porch and waited, thinking maybe my mum would come home soon. When she finally arrived, she didn't even look surprised to see me. She just said, "You've moved on. So have I." I didn't understand. I hadn't moved anywhere. I was working, saving money, helping with bills when I could. She just shook her head and told me Haley, her new goddaughter, needed the room now. Haley wasn't family. She was someone from her church group, younger than me, always smiling in fake ways. My mum said she was easier to live with. I didn't cry at first. I just stood there, numb. I asked where my things were, and she pointed to the garage. My clothes were in trash bags, my books, my photos, everything stuffed in like garbage. My toothbrush was missing. Even my dog's bowl was gone. That day, I didn't just lose a home. I lost the one person I thought I could trust. My own mother had replaced me like I was nothing, and that's where my story begins. After that day, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the girl I saw in my house. She smiled too much, like someone trying too hard. I remembered her name, Haley. My mum had mentioned her once or twice before, always with praise. Haley helped with the church fundraiser, or Haley brought me soup when I was sick. I never thought she was important. I never thought she would take my place. A few days later, I tried to talk to my mum again. I asked her why she picked Haley over me. She didn't hesitate. She said, "Haley listens, doesn't argue, and brings peace to the house." Then she looked me straight in the eye and said, "She's more like a daughter to me than you ever were." I couldn't speak. The words hit me hard. I had tried so much over the years, studied hard, worked part-time, helped around the house, but all of that meant nothing to her now. I began to look into Haley. Something didn't sit right. She had shown up so quickly, gotten so close to my mum, and suddenly I was gone. I went online and searched her name. At first, nothing came up. Then I found a photo of her with a different last name in a news article about a church in another state. That led me to more digging. She had changed her last name more than once. She moved around a lot. It looked like she never stayed in one place long. I spoke to someone from the old church mentioned in the article. They said she lived with an older woman there too, and left suddenly after some money went missing. It sounded too familiar. I kept digging and found more stories. She had a pattern. She would get close to older women, make them feel needed, then take over their homes or lives. And when things went bad, she disappeared. It scared me. My mum had no idea who this girl really was. She saw what Haley wanted her to see, kind, polite, helpful. But behind that smile was someone dangerous. I tried to warn her. I sent her what I found, the articles, the names, even a message from someone Haley had lived with before. But my mum didn't believe me. She said I was jealous, trying to cause trouble, making up lies because I couldn't handle being replaced. That broke me even more. Not just that I had been pushed aside, but that my mum chose to stay blind. She didn't want the truth. She wanted the fantasy, and Haley gave her that. I knew then I couldn't count on my mum to see the danger. I had to protect myself and figure out a way to stop Haley before it was too late. I went back to the house one more time, hoping to quietly take the rest of my things. I didn't knock this time. I just walked around to the garage. The door was half open, and there they were. Big black trash bags stacked in a corner like someone had thrown out old food or junk. I opened one and found my clothes, all wrinkled and smelling like dust. Another had my shoes, just tossed in carelessly. My books were in another bag, their pages bent and damaged. It felt like someone had taken pieces of my life and stuffed them in the dark. I looked for my laptop, the one I saved up for during college. It wasn't there. My old journals were missing too. So was a necklace my dad had given me when I was 10. I searched every bag again, hoping I missed something, but they were gone. I sat on the cold floor for a while, just staring at those bags. This wasn't how you treat someone you love. This wasn't how you say goodbye. When I finally texted my mum asking where my things were, she replied, "You left. You abandoned this family. What did you expect?" I couldn't believe what I was reading. Abandoned. I had never left on my own. I was pushed out, kicked out without a warning or reason. I called her to explain, but she didn't answer. The silence was loud, like she didn't just lock the door. She shut me out completely. I started to think about everything again. It didn't make sense. I wasn't perfect, but I was always present. I worked, I helped her, I stayed home when she needed me. Now I saw it clearly. This wasn't about me doing something wrong. It was about her wanting control. I had grown up, started thinking for myself, saying no when I needed to. That's what she couldn't handle. She wanted someone who would smile, agree with her, do as told. Haley gave her that, and I didn't. It hurt more than anything I'd felt before. Not just the loss of my home or my things, but the truth behind it all. I had spent so long thinking I had done something to deserve this, but now I knew. It was never about me being bad. It was about her needing someone she could control, and when I stopped fitting that role, she found someone else. That day, sitting in the garage surrounded by trash bags full of my life, I promised myself I wouldn't let her break me. She could erase my things, but she couldn't erase who I was. After my mum ignored all the things I tried to show her, I knew I needed real proof. I was tired of being called jealous or dramatic. I wanted the truth to speak for itself. So I reached out to a private investigator. He was a quiet man, didn't ask too many questions, just listened. I gave him Haley's full name, the church where she met my mum, and the few old photos I had of her. He said he would look into it and get back to me. I didn't expect much, but a few days later, he called and asked if we could meet. When we sat down, he placed a file on the table. Inside were photos, documents, and printed pages with names and addresses. He looked me in the eye and said, "This girl is not who your mum thinks she is." He told me Haley had changed her last name 3 times in 5 years. Each time she moved to a new state, joined a new church group, and became close to an older woman. Always someone who lived alone and had money. In each case, she moved in fast, acted like family, and gained their trust. Then things started to go wrong. One woman reported missing jewelry. Another had her savings account touched without permission. In one home, after a big fight, Haley packed up and left in the middle of the night. The woman tried to take legal action, but Haley disappeared before anything could happen. The stories were all different, but the pattern was the same. She found women who were lonely, made them feel special, then used them. What shocked me the most was that in 2 cases, the women's own children were pushed out of the house, just like I was. Haley would twist things, make the mothers believe their own children were ungrateful or toxic, and once she had control, she made herself the center of everything. The investigator showed me old pictures. She looked different in each one. Hair color changed, different clothes, but the same smile, the same fake, sweet face. He said people like her know how to act perfect. They study their targets, say the right things, and make themselves seem harmless. By the time anyone sees the truth, it's too late. I sat there in shock, holding the file. All this time, my mum thought Haley was some blessing from above, but she was just another victim in a long list. I knew now I couldn't just walk away. If I didn't do something, my mum would lose more than just her daughter. She'd lose everything, and Haley would just move on to the next family, starting the game all over again. I was going through some of my old boxes that I'd managed to take before everything went bad. Inside, one of them was a folder my dad had given me before he passed. I hadn't opened it in years. It was full of papers, old letters, a few pictures, and some legal documents. At the bottom of the pile, I found a copy of his will. I had seen parts of it before, but never read it fully. This time, I read every word slowly. In one of the last pages, something caught my eye. It was a special section, written in clear but quiet language. It said that if my mother ever let someone who wasn't family move into the house permanently, then full rights to the house would shift to me. My name was written there, Eleanor Brooks. It felt like a piece of light in a dark room. At first, I didn't know if it still counted or if it was even valid. So I took the papers to a family friend who worked in law. She read the documents carefully, flipping through each page, and finally looked up at me with a serious face. She said, "This clause is real, and it still stands." That moment changed everything. I realized that my dad had left me a way out, long before I even knew I'd need one. Maybe he knew something like this could happen one day, or maybe he just wanted to protect me, just in case. Either way, he had given me a key, and now I had to use it. Haley had been living in the house for more than a month by now. My mum introduced her to neighbours as part of the family, but there was no legal tie between them, no adoption, no papers, just words and smiles. That was enough to break the rule in the will. I felt a strange mix of emotions, anger, relief, and something close to peace. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I had power now, and not because I fought for it, but because my dad had already fought for me years ago. That made me feel less alone. I knew I had to act carefully. I couldn't go charging in without a plan. But I also knew one thing for sure. Haley's presence had broken the one condition that held the house under my mum's control. Now it was my turn to take back what was mine, not out of revenge, but out of what was fair. And maybe, finally, I'd get some justice. After confirming the clause in my dad's will was real, I didn't waste time. I met again with my lawyer friend and told her I was ready to take action. She explained what we needed to do step by step. The first thing was to file a legal injunction. This would stop my mum from making any changes to the house or selling it while things were being sorted out. It would also officially bring the matter to court. The paperwork was heavy, and the process took a lot of energy, but I stayed focused. I wasn't doing this just to win a house. I was doing it to take back my place and prove I wasn't someone who could be thrown away. When the documents were finally filed, I felt nervous but calm. The truth was on my side now. When the papers were delivered to my mum, she called me in a panic. I didn't answer. Then she left a long voice message, angry and emotional. She said I was ungrateful, said I was tearing the family apart, but I stayed silent. I knew what she was trying to do, make me feel guilty, but I had felt guilty for too long. Now I was standing up for myself. Haley also tried to reach out. She sent me a message saying she didn't mean for any of this to happen, that she thought my mum and I were already distant. She played the victim, said she was caught in the middle, but I didn't reply to her either. Her words meant nothing to me. She knew what she was doing the whole time. She chose to step into a life that wasn't hers, knowing it would hurt someone. The court date was set, and everything started moving forward. My lawyer said we had a strong case. I wasn't scared anymore. I was prepared. I had documents, proof, and my father's words on paper. All those months of being ignored and replaced were finally being brought into the light. I could feel the control shifting. It wasn't just about the house. It was about my voice. For the first time, I felt like I was writing my own story, not just reacting to other people's choices. I didn't care how much they cried or begged. What mattered now was doing what was right, and I was ready to finish what my dad had started. The day of the meeting came. I had asked my lawyer to help me organize a small mediation session instead of going straight to court. I wanted the family to hear the truth with their own ears before any judge did. So I invited my aunts, uncles, and cousins. Everyone who had known me since I was little. Most of them were surprised to hear from me after everything that happened, but they came. We held the meeting at a quiet hall my uncle helped me book. I arrived early with my lawyer, and the documents carefully placed in a folder. I was calm, but my hands felt cold. Valerie came in late, looking proud, like she thought this would be a waste of time. Haley walked in beside her, smiling as if nothing could touch her. Once everyone had taken their seats, I stood up and explained why I called them all. Then I handed out copies of the will. I pointed to the part where my dad's words clearly gave me control of the house under certain conditions. Conditions that had now been broken. Some people gasped. Others looked at my mum, waiting for her to say something, but she stayed quiet. Then I showed the report from the private investigator. Page by page, I read out loud how Haley had changed her name several times, moved from one family to another, and left pain behind each time. The room grew tense. My aunt folded her arms and looked at Valerie with disappointment. My cousin whispered something under his breath. The truth was clear now. This girl wasn't innocent. Valerie tried to speak, but her voice cracked. She said she didn't know about Haley's past, but it was too late. No one believed her. For the first time, they saw through her excuses. One of my uncles stood up and said, "You threw away your own daughter for this?" No one came to her defense. Haley looked smaller now. Her confidence was gone. She picked at her nails. then stared at the floor. No more fake smiles. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need revenge. The truth spoke louder than anything. That day, I got back something more than the house. I got back my name in the family. They saw me again, not as the girl who left, but the daughter who was wronged. And Valerie? She finally had to face what she had done, with everyone watching. When the judge made the final decision, I felt like I could finally breathe. The ruling was clear. I now had full control of the house. Valerie and Haley were given only 1 day to leave. 24 hours. That was it. No more waiting, no more talking, and no more pretending things could go back to the way they were. I didn't go to the house right away. I wanted to give them space to pack and leave. I didn't want to see more drama or hear more excuses, but part of me also needed to see them go. I needed to witness the end with my own eyes. So I drove there the next evening, just before sunset. The driveway looked strange. It was full of boxes and bags. I saw Valerie's car trunk open, and Haley walking back and forth with her things. She didn't say a word when she saw me. She just gave me a cold look and kept packing. Her smile was gone. Her confidence had vanished. Now she was just a girl holding a bunch of stolen dreams. Valerie was slower. She looked tired. She was sitting on the porch holding an old picture frame. I don't know if it was a photo of Dad or something else, but she looked at it like it was her last bit of comfort. When she noticed me, she stood up. Her eyes were full of tears. She looked like she wanted to talk, but I didn't let her. I stood by my car, arms crossed, saying nothing, not one word. After everything she had done, there was nothing left to say. Sometimes silence is stronger than shouting. It says, "You've done enough." They kept moving. Haley slammed the trunk shut and pulled Valerie toward the car. I watched them drive away until they turned the corner and disappeared. Just like that, the house was mine again. I walked up to the door, the same door I had once been locked out of. I placed my hand on it for a moment before opening it. Inside, everything was still messy, like they had rushed to leave, but it didn't matter. They were gone. I stood in the middle of the living room, listening to the quiet. The silence felt different this time. It didn't hurt. It felt peaceful. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I just sat on the floor of my childhood home, finally feeling safe again. I woke up early the next morning. The house was quiet. No more footsteps that didn't belong. No more voices I didn't want to hear. I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the dining table for a while. It felt strange at first, like I was waiting for someone to interrupt. But no one did. The house was finally mine. Later that day, I drove to the hardware store. I bought new locks, tools, and paint. Changing the locks was the first thing I did. I stood at the front door, unscrewing the old lock slowly. Each turn of the screwdriver felt like letting go of a heavy weight. When I finished, I tested the new key. It worked perfectly. That sound, the click of my key opening my door, was something I'd never forget. Inside, I walked from room to room, turning off all the lights. I wanted to see the house in its real state, plain, quiet, and honest. I looked at the pictures on the walls. Some had been moved around. I fixed them. I replaced 2 with photos of my dad and me, ones I kept safely hidden after he passed. I took down everything else that reminded me of what had happened. The guest room was last. That room had once been mine, then it became hers. I stood in the doorway for a long time. Her clothes were gone, but the color of the walls still held her shadow. Soft pink, her favorite. I opened the paint can and started covering it. Stroke by stroke, the walls changed to black. It was bold and cold, but it felt right. I didn't want comfort anymore. I wanted truth. I wanted strength. The black walls were mine. I cleaned out the drawers, the closet, even under the bed. Anything she left behind, I threw away. I didn't want to keep memories that didn't belong. Every corner of the room was reset. By nightfall, the house felt new, not because it had changed completely, but because I had taken back control. I had faced every part of the mess, and I didn't run from any of it. I didn't rush. I didn't break down. I just worked, slowly and quietly, until the place felt like me again. And for the first time in a long while, I felt safe. Not just because of the new locks, but because I finally knew this was my home, my door, and my rules. That evening, I sat on the couch with my phone in my hand. The house was quiet, clean, and finally mine. I had nothing left to say, but I still wanted to send one last message, not to start a fight, but to end the story on my terms. I opened the chat with my mother, the same chat that once held birthday wishes and silly updates. Now, it was filled with cold words and silence. I typed slowly, making sure every word felt right. The locks had changed again, but this time, They're not to keep me out. They're to keep people like you out. I read it twice, then hit send. No anger, no begging, just truth. I watched the message go through, then I deleted the entire thread. Finally, I deleted her number. No more waiting for replies. No more hope for change. I leaned back and closed my eyes. It wasn't about revenge. It was about peace. She made her choice, and now I had made mine. For the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't need her approval, her presence, or her excuses. I had myself, and that was enough. Do you think I did the right thing by cutting my mum off completely, or should I have given her a chance to make things right? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. And if you want to hear more stories from my life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.